Alright friends, so today we are going to pick up where we left off on our overlapping flower project. And remember that we are being inspired by the artist Henri Rousseau in this lesson. So if you have not finished filling your paper with the different types of flowers and overlapping vines, then you need to finish that first. Let's see if we can get that to focus. Okay, that should be better. So we have to finish drawing our flowers and our vines before we move on to the next step. The next step is going to be to trace everything with Sharpie. So you're going to have to really be careful that you stay right on your pencil lines and that you still use that draw, skip, draw technique so that you're not drawing through your flowers whenever you're tracing. So we're just going to go right over the top of all of our lines, tracing everything nice and neat as best we can. And this is going to take some time because it's pretty intricate, the details in this project, so it might take a few minutes. If you have areas that are really close together, then you might not want to use a regular Sharpie. If you need to use a smaller Sharpie or the pen Sharpies, then you can just come ask me, raise your hand, let me know that you need a finer tip marker, and I will get that for you so that in these small details they're not getting kind of blobbed together. So we're just going to keep going. We're going to trace all of our details, even our little curly cues and our leaves and our bugs and all of those things. So I'm going to go ahead and pause my video and I will finish tracing, and then we will pick up on the next step in just a second. Okay, so now that I have everything traced with Sharpie, the next step, as always when we use Sharpie, is we're going to go over everything with an eraser and erase all the pencil lines that you can still see. So there's always going to be a few areas where our Sharpie got off of our pencil line, and so we're just going to go over it and erase to make our artwork nice and neat. Kind of tidy up our lines a little bit. And I did trace over my little bug with a littler Sharpie. And if you do not have an eraser, then I will be sure to lend you one today. Oh. Okay. That's looking pretty good. I'll go ahead and stop here. All of my eraser dust off. Alright, so now we are going to start adding color. And we are going to be using marker for our flowers and our vines. We are not going to put anything in the background yet. So to start, we're going to use Mr. Sketch markers, and we're going to talk about the correct way to use these markers, which these markers have what's called a chisel tip. And the tip of the marker, as you can kind of see, has a diagonal slant to it. So when you're coloring, you're going to need to hold your marker at an angle so that this whole side is touching your paper. If you are holding it straight up and down, the only thing that's going to touch is this very little tip, and that makes our markers kind of round out, and it breaks the tips of the markers, that felt where the ink comes out. It makes those bendy and they break off. So we want to make sure that we are using the markers the right way. And to do that, we're going to, as I said, hold it kind of at an angle, and then we're going to color in stripes. We never go back and forth like with a crayon. we're always going to use stripes. So we're going to fill in one stripe and then come back down, fill in the next stripe. Come back down, fill in the next stripe. And you will be able to see pretty easily the lines of the marker. Now, if you have little gaps, that is when we hold it straight up and down, and we use that little tip to fill in those gaps. That's what that little tip of the marker is for. So we are always going to be coloring in stripes. And then you can use that fine tip to fill in any of your white areas. One thing that I find with markers that helps is if you are pulling the marker towards your body. That seems to work out best. If you're trying to push your marker away from your body, so if you started here and went this way, it doesn't work quite as nicely. So you start at the top and pull your marker down to the bottom. Nice and slow. And it glides really easily and really nicely. And so you're just going to keep going, and we're going to color in all of our flowers and our vines today. And if we don't get it done, then we will pick up where we left off last time. But as you can see, it's a very nice, bright color on our flowers. And that's what we want, is bright, vibrant flowers and vines. Okay. And you can see, even in the camera, you can see how the stripes really show up. So it's easy for me to come around and take a look at your artwork and see if you are coloring back and forth like with a crayon, or if you're making stripes. So you can do your flowers and your vines any colors you want. Just make sure that we do not color in the background today.